Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we are taking a really direct, maybe even a little uncomfortable look into our daily habits. We're going to explore the true value of the hours we so often just let slip away. Because, let's be honest, we all say we understand that time is precious, right? We nod our heads when people tell us to value it, but knowing something in your head and actually feeling it in your heart, those are two very different things. So through a really insightful parable drawn from our source material today, we're going to unpack how we view our time and how just a tiny shift in perspective can literally alter the entire trajectory of our lives. Think about it. If we genuinely comprehended just how fleeting time actually is, our daily behaviors would look vastly different. I mean, we wouldn't so easily lose hours mindlessly doom scrolling, indefinitely postponing the important stuff, or falling back on that comfortable yet completely dangerous phrase, "I'll start tomorrow." You know, procrastination is incredibly costly. Just compare these two types of loss for a second. You can lose your money and, well, with some effort, you can make it back. You can lose a job and eventually find another one. But a single moment, once it's gone, it is gone forever. Material loss is temporary, but the loss of time is absolutely permanent. And the tragic part is that most of us don't truly realize this until it's far too late. Okay, let's dive into part one, the watch and the market, a father's lesson. So consider a hardworking father in a small town who decides to teach his idle son a really profound lesson. The contrast between these two is just night and day. The father is a man of serious diligence. He's up before the sun, tends to his shop, and comes home tired but deeply satisfied. The son, on the other hand, well, he lives completely differently. Wakes up late, wanders the lanes, kind of just sits near tea stalls watching other people work, and only comes home when he's hungry. The kid basically lives under this illusion that there's always plenty of time, acting as if life is just going to wait around for him forever. At first, the dad tried to gently advise his son. Then he warned him, but eventually he just went silent. He understood a really hard truth. Advice enters the ears, but wisdom enters only when the heart is ready. Realizing that just lecturing the kid wasn't working at all, he walked over to a wooden cupboard, pulled out this old, steadily ticking watch wrapped in cloth, and handed it to the boy with a very specific task. He told his son to take the physical watch to the busy market and just ask people what price they'd pay for it. So the boy goes, first to a cloth merchant who offered 500 rupees, then a grocery seller examined it. Actually, he offered 800. Finally, a guy selling steel utensils said he'd give about 1,000 rupees for the whole shebang. When the boy got back home, he excitedly reported these tangible financial values, totally expecting an explanation. But the father, he remained completely silent, just letting the experience sit. All right, moving on to part two, the impossible question, the price of time. So on the second day, the father sends the son back into the noisy, dusty market, but with a new, totally baffling instruction. He hands the boy the exact same watch, but this time says, go to the market and ask people not the price of the watch, but the price of the time inside it. I mean, it's a completely absurd question to ask a merchant, right? But the father insisted. And you can probably guess how the market reacted. It was swift and totally unforgiving. The first merchant just burst out laughing, asking if the boy was trying to be funny. A woman waved him away, ironically telling him to stop wasting people's time. Another man flat out stated that you cannot put a price on time and basically told him to get lost. Everywhere the poor kid went, he faced laughter, confusion, or straight-up dismissal. He really felt the sting of shame and embarrassment. He'd never really thought deeply about time before, and now here he is walking through the market carrying a question that made him feel entirely foolish. Which brings us to part three, the priceless realization, the old watchmaker. Ready to just give up, the boy notices this tiny, quiet repair shop tucked into the corner of the market. Inside, a silver-haired watchmaker is fixing a broken timepiece. The boy steps inside and, asks his impossible question one last time. But the old watchmaker doesn't laugh. Instead, he cleanly divides the material object from the abstract concept it measures. He explains that sure, the physical watch has a price, 500 or 1,000 rupees. But the time inside it, that has no price. Not in rupees, not in gold, not in literally all the wealth of the world. The watchmaker looks right at him and asks, if a rich man loses money, he can earn it again. If a farmer loses crops, he may grow them again. If a shop burns down, it may be rebuilt. But tell me, if 1 hour of your life passes, can anyone buy it back? The boy shakes his head. No way, not even 1 second. It's the greatest treasure because it is entirely free, yet entirely priceless. The watchmaker goes on to explain this really fascinating duality. He says the bad thing about time is its relentless nature. It never stops and it absolutely does not wait for anyone. But the good thing? You have agency. You still get to choose what you do with it as it passes. And that leads us to part 4, respecting your 24 hours, actionable change. So, how does this profound realization in some dusty market translate into our modern lives? Well, it starts with recognizing the great equalizer of human existence. Every single person, rich or poor, young or old, gets the exact same 24 hours each day. No more, no less. The difference between someone who succeeds and someone who fails is rarely just talent or luck. It's purely how they choose to spend these allotted hours. One uses their hours to build a future, while another just kind of throws them away. The watchmaker's lesson didn't just enter the boy's ears, it finally hit his heart, like rain on dry soil. The boy whispered that he understood, but the old man left him with a final, really powerful command. Do not just understand, change. Because, let's face it, comprehension without action is just wasted potential. So the boy ran home with an absolute fire in his eyes. And from that day on, he actually changed. It started small, right? He woke up a little earlier, then he started helping out at home. He learned to work with care. Over time, he discovered that these disciplined hours brought him a sense of peace, and his honest efforts gave him genuine pride. The town didn't change, the noisy market didn't change, but by respecting his hours, the boy built a meaningful life. A lot of us live exactly like that boy used to. We look at our big goals and say, oh, I'll start tomorrow, there's plenty of time. But those delays harden into habits, and those habits eventually shape a weak, directionless life. And the most dangerous part of all of this? Lost time rarely shouts. It doesn't announce its departure. It just disappears quietly while we're looking the other way. I want you to do a brutally honest audit of yourself right now. Seriously, how many wasted hours did you spend this week on things that added absolutely nothing to your growth, your peace of mind, or your future? The father in our story knew he couldn't force wisdom through a lecture. We have to be willing to face our own wasted time if we actually want to change. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Real change happens through immediate action. Here are some specific steps you can take today. 1. Wake up just a little earlier. 2. Audit your phone and spend one less hour on digital distractions. And yes, you can definitely survive without that extra hour of scrolling. 3. Pick up that book or finally start that project you've been shelving. 4. Have that difficult conversation you have been avoiding. Every single hour you invest today literally builds the person you will become tomorrow. Remember, you can replace almost everything in life, but you can never, ever replace a single moment that is already past. Time is the absolute most valuable thing you will ever own. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What is one thing you have been putting off that you will start today? Don't just understand the value of your time, change how you use it.